Welcome to the Darby Creek Diaries. I'm Gail Thompson, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. I really appreciate it. I want to talk about the good old days. I guess you could maybe call them good. We didn't have a lot to work with, mostly office supplies, kids, craft supplies. We had, the fancy art supplies, and we used everything we could, up to and including embossing with sweetened condensed milk. Yes, my friend, you heard it. Sweetened condensed milk. Sheree Green, who is a wonderful artist, actually sent me a card where she had used that to emboss. We'd tried everything. As you can see, we started out with the one layer, then we went to layering, then we fractured it, then we had to fussy cut 25 of those cards. We went to fancy papers, rice papers, and then mixed media. Sheree is a wonderful mixed media artist. There's my first heat embossed card. And then there's my first where you heat embossed on vellum and then colored behind it. And this is the kind of card we're going to do today in a minute. Exactly the whole card, but we're going to use watercolor crayons. Before we get to that though, this stamp has 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. The rubber's great. Everybody loved the rubber, but you couldn't see through it. And guess what? We didn't have die cutting machines, so we got to use a craft knife if we wanted to layer those pieces. Doesn't that sound fun? So today we're going to use a wooden block stamp and do the watercolor crayons. The wonderful rubber. Those really are the best. It's just unfortunate you can't see through them. I have no idea where I got this stamp, but it's always been a favorite. Lots of techniques we could do with that. And then this is my stamp positioner that Sheree Green made. And that was what we used if you wanted to put the same stamp. You couldn't re-stamp, really. You couldn't trust that. But if you were making multiple cards, you could at least be in the ballpark as you rotated out the cards, which was the most that we could ask for at the time. Now, since I'm nice, I am going to double speed the tutorial here in a minute because if you think it takes you long to make a card, try making it the old way. It takes forever. So I'm going to do you a favor because I don't want you to leave or fall asleep. Here are my watercolor crayons. They're approximately 25 years old, so here's hoping they work. They're a lot like Gelatos or the distress crayons or their watercolor pencils, that sort of thing. The same, you can even use markers with this technique. The technique hasn't died, but perhaps these crayons have. And I forget exactly how I did this, so I'm going to try it a few different ways. This is the dry on dry. I'm just taking a dry crayon and drawing on, this really only works with red rubber stamps on with any kind of, um, material. You wouldn't be drawing on the clear ones. It just doesn't hold the crayon as well. It might a little, but I sped this up and you can see I am going a little faster, but it's still going to take a minute. I decided that I would just put a little bit of water on the tip to help it kind of smear a little better. And originally I put on a light color and then I put the dark over it. So when you stamp it, hopefully the light winds up on top. We shall see. So I'm just going to dip the crayon and this certainly works better. The other way to do it would be to spray your stamp first. And I tried that and it was too watery. I oversprayed. So there's a happy medium with the distress sprayer. You can control that. It's just I didn't control that. So now I'm going back in with the spots that I missed, which were several, and using a different color of green. I wanted to let you know, if you're coming to Simon Says Create, I think it's May the 9th, something like that, 8th, 9th, 10th. I'm going to be there. Please stop me and say hi. I'd love to meet you or see you, and I may have a little something for you. I'm not going to be in the classes this time, but I will do some videos of the floor where the demos and the make and takes are. So now we are almost done with the green. As you can see, it's a little splotchy in places, but I figure I will miss the stamp and then all will be well. Well, we shall see. I hope you are doing well and that the winter has treated you well. If you're in the northern hemisphere, I hope that things are well in the southern hemisphere as well. Just I don't know much about that, but we had a little bit of snow this morning, but it has been a mild winter, and I'm grateful because I just really don't have time to do a bunch of shoveling, and I'm kind of clumsy, and so I just and I fall, so I don't want to do that. And the dogs hate going out getting their little feet wet. Now I'm adding the darker around the edges. It's hard to see the lighter that's kind of in the middle. And I'm going to go back over that. And like I said, these are 25-year-old crayons, and my memory isn't what it used to be either. So we're just kind of filling in the gaps. And remember, this is sped up. So that's how come we had a lot of time on Tuesday nights at Sheree's to eat and gossip. And we'd only make, and in like 3 hours, we'd get like one card done. It's just how long it took. But Sheree is the one that did the sweetened condensed milk, and it worked. It was kind of messy to do, but it did work. I forget if she stamped in it, or I guess she must have put her stamp in it and then put it on the paper and dried it. So I'm misting it off camera, and you can see I have way, way too much water. I am putting it on Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I'm just pressing it to let the color and the water kind of soak in the paper using my handy dandy stamp positioner. And there we go. So there's too much water on it, but look at the two tulips on the left. They're kind of pretty. So I suppose with some practice, I might be able to continue doing this. I was going to fill in, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna be real with you and show you how it turned out. It was just way too much water. But look at those two on the left. I There might be something I can do with that. Who knows? But you can do the shading, and you can see the different levels of green and red. The next project I was going to do is I was going to show you some photo papers and what we did with them. This is going to be a little series. I've got all kinds of circle cutters and things to do. So this isn't the only retro video I'm going to do. But we just had photo paper. So you could print out pictures on your computer. Why you'd want to, because they never really turned out great. But so I'm using regular distress ink, and I'm just going direct to paper and noticing that I need to get some re-inkers. And I'm just playing here. There's no rhyme or reason. The colors do come out nice and bright. The people use these, I'll show you in a little bit. They used them also for alcohol inks when Tim brought those out. But they aren't as good as the papers today. So there's my background, and I kind of smeared, but I just wanted you to get the idea. Now the one on the left is with oxides. Another artist on YouTube, did a treatment with it that the oxides work great, but it didn't work for me. I need to go back and see hers again. But look how pretty and shiny and bright the distress inks were. The oxides dye back. You wipe it down with water when you're done. I just got this Gina K set of silhouettes. She's big on silhouettes. And here is the Fiskars stamp press. This was an upgrade to the wooden block, or the wooden corner thing. Now I realized that I wanted to use archival ink, but can't get the lid off of that, or at least I don't think I can without breaking it. So I'm using some distress ink in Soot. I hadn't used this stamp before, so I'm kind of seasoning it, rubbing it up with one of those microfiber cloths. And I'm not using this particularly because of the grid. You could. That was one way of positioning a stamp. And it's nice, it has those little spongy things so that you can hover above it before you actually committed to stamping, which was nice. So that was the big innovative thing. And I held this down maybe too long. It was difficult for me to get the paper off. See, I was afraid I was going to tear it. The image came out okay, except for like a little blop in the bottom there. But I don't think I suggest using those inks on those kind of stamps on that kind of paper. And I'm going to use the old-fashioned stamp cleaner that I've had forever. It's probably 30 years old. And I'm just going to wipe it down. But there is the stamp positioner. Now here are some alcohol inks by Gruning, back in the Carol Duvall days. The ink dries instantly. See, I'm pouring on the blending solution and it doesn't even do anything. But when pressed into service, we could use these for alcohol inks. And there are people that would be way better than me at it. But I'm just trying to show you all those little inks are dried out. Those are definitely 30-year-old inks. I didn't pull out my Tim Holtz ones. I wanted to get the oldest ones I had. Here are other Posh Impression degruning products. And then here was Tim's original alcohol ink blending tool. Wasn't it fancy? Basically, Velcro on a wood block. I hope you enjoyed this and you'll follow me, like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend, and I will have more videos coming soon. Take care and bye bye.